The rain was pounding against the dusty glass windows of a small-town diner when Emily wiped down the counter for what felt like the 100th time that morning. Her hands trembled, not just from the chill in the air, but from the storm in her heart. She was late on rent again. Her younger brother's medical bills had piled up on the kitchen table, and the tips she had scraped together from long shifts barely covered groceries. But Emily wore a smile anyway, because in her mind, kindness was the only currency she could afford to give when life had already taken so much from her. She was the kind of person who noticed the lonely, who helped the forgotten, and who believed, deep down, that goodness mattered even when it went unseen. If you believe in kindness, compassion, and second chances, please take a moment right now to like this video, share it with a friend, and subscribe to American Folktales. Your support helps us keep telling powerful stories that touch hearts around the world. That morning, a man walked into the diner. His clothes were simple, his face a little unshaven, and he carried the weight of exhaustion in his eyes. To most of the customers, he looked like just another weary traveler. But Emily saw more. She saw a man who looked like he hadn't eaten a warm meal in days. When he slid into one of the red leather booths, hesitant and quiet, she greeted him with her warmest smile and placed a menu in front of him. But as she leaned closer, she noticed the way he stared at the prices, his hand hovering uncertainly over his pocket, as if debating whether he could even afford a cup of coffee. Emily's heart tightened. She knew that look, because she had worn it herself many times. Instead of waiting for him to admit defeat, she quietly brought him a steaming bowl of soup and a plate of bread, setting it down as if it had been ordered long before. The man's eyes widened in surprise, but she just winked and told him not to worry. The food was hers to cover. What she didn't know was that this man was not just a stranger in need. He was the owner of the diner, sitting undercover to learn the truth about how his employees treated people when no one was watching. For the rest of that shift, Emily went about her duties as she always did, kindly, attentively, selflessly. She stopped to help a mother juggling 2 children and hot coffee. She offered a comforting word to an elderly regular whose wife had recently passed, and she kept the diner humming with quiet, unseen grace. To Emily, it was just another day of trying to make a hard world a little softer for the people around her. But her kindness was about to collide with cruelty in a way that would shatter her spirit, at least for a time. When her manager stormed into the diner that afternoon, clipboard in hand, her eyes immediately found Emily. The moment she learned Emily had given away food to a man who hadn't paid, her fury ignited. She berated Emily in front of customers, accusing her of stealing from the company, of crossing lines, of acting unprofessional. Emily tried to explain, her voice trembling, that it was just a bowl of soup, that the man looked hungry, that she would pay for it herself. But her manager's words cut through the air sharper than any knife. "You're fired." The diner went silent. Customers looked away awkwardly, some ashamed, some shocked. Emily's cheeks burned, her eyes stung with unshed tears, and all she could do was clutch her apron and walk out the door, her dreams and dignity left crumpled on the black and white checkered floor. That night, Emily sat on her small apartment's couch, staring at the unopened bills stacked high on the table. Her chest ached with the weight of it all. How could she tell her little brother, who depended on her, that she had lost the one job keeping them afloat? How could she explain that? Kindness, something she had always believed in, had cost her everything. For the first time in a long while, Emily wondered if she had been foolish to keep holding on to hope. But fate had a way of turning the quiet acts of the kind-hearted into ripples that reached further than anyone could imagine. The next morning, when the diner opened, the same weary-looking man from the day before walked back through the doors. Only this time he was not dressed in faded clothes. He wore a sharp suit, his posture confident and his presence commanding. Customers who had seen him yesterday blinked in disbelief, but the staff knew instantly who he was, the owner. The man Emily had fed with her last ounce of generosity was not a stranger after all. He called for the staff to gather, and the atmosphere in the diner grew tense. The manager, smug at first, expected praise for her strict enforcement of the rules, but what came next silenced the entire room. The owner began recounting his visit in detail, the soup placed in front of him without hesitation, the the smile that had warmed a tired heart, the way Emily had treated him not as a burden, but as a human being. His voice grew firm as he declared that kindness was the true foundation of his business, not cold rules or rigid profits. Then he turned sharply toward the manager, his words like thunder rolling through the diner. Firing Emily had been the gravest mistake. Word spread quickly. Customers who had witnessed the humiliation the day before were stunned as the truth came out. Emily, the waitress who had walked away in tears, had been the one to embody the very values the owner held dear. The manager who had fired her was dismissed on the spot, her clipboard clattering against the counter as she left in disgrace. But that was not all. The owner didn't just call Emily back to work, he honored her. In front of staff and customers, he announced that Emily would be promoted to a senior role, one where her compassion and leadership could shine. The diner erupted in applause. People who had sat in silence the day before now stood to clap, some even wiping tears from their eyes. For Emily, it felt like a sunrise after the longest, coldest night. She returned to the diner that week, not just as a waitress, but as a symbol of resilience, proof that kindness never truly goes unnoticed. Her brother cried tears of joy when she told him the news. And for the first time in months, Emily believed that maybe the world did see the good people tried to give. The story of the fired waitress who fed a hungry man spread far beyond the small town. Customers traveled miles to meet her, to sit in her section, to thank her for reminding them that compassion still mattered. And Emily, though humbled, carried herself, not with pride, but with the quiet grace of someone who had been tested by fire and had emerged stronger. Her life was far from perfect. Bills still needed paying, struggles still lay ahead, but she now carried the certainty that kindness had power. Power to transform, power to inspire, and power to turn even the cruelest endings into new beginnings. And in that diner, every bowl of soup she served carried with it the echo of her story, a reminder that even the smallest acts of goodness can ripple out into waves of change. If this story touched your heart, please take a moment to like this video, share it with someone who believes in kindness, and subscribe to American Folktales so we can continue bringing you stories that inspire and heal. Special request: before you leave, please comment below. Do you believe that kindness always finds its way back? Your thoughts matter, and your words may inspire someone else who needs hope today.